Like, what if we just allowed our stepfamily relationships to develop organically? What if we just accepted them as they were? Like, the paradox is, the harder that some of us, a lot of us, try to force connection, the more pressure we put on that fucking blend, the more disconnected we probably end up feeling. Where would you take your life if you knew you could not fail? I get it. As a stepmom, mom, and entrepreneur, sometimes it can feel like what everyone else expects of you versus what you dream about for yourself are on opposite ends of the spectrum. As a woman, you're taught from a very young age what society thinks you're worth based on how you look, how you behave, and how much money you're allowed to bring in. But I'm here to show you that you can be the woman who has it all, and not just on the outside. I'm Brittany Lynch, and you are the queen of your castle. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Queen of Your Castle podcast. I am your host, Brittany Lynch, and I help stepmoms live happily ever after. I'm a stepmom veteran of 7 going on 77 years. I'm a registered nurse turned certified stepfamily counselor. I am the creator and facilitator of the best damn stepmom coaching community program in the world called Your Stepmom Story. I'm a regular featured writer for Stepmom magazine. And I believe that the nuclear family structure, where a man marries a woman and they have 2.2 kids and everything is perfect forever and ever, amen. I believe that the nuclear family structure is bullshit. Wait, what did she say? Yeah, I said it. The nuclear family structure, the traditional family structure, it's bullshit. Now, whoa, Brittany, right? What are you on about? Have you lost your bloomin' mind? You can't talk that way about families. But why can't I? Well, because the nuclear family structure is the normal kind of family. It's all the other kinds of families that are weird, that should have to explain themselves. It's all the other types of families like stepfamilies or same-sex couple families or adoptive families or single-parent families or multiracial families. It's all those types of families that are weird. It is certainly not the nuclear family. Oh, no, not my little Johnny Boo-Boo nuclear family. I could go on, but it's starting to feel weird having a debate with myself and my pretend self. Also, I don't really like my pretend self. She's kind of a wanker. But really, though, satire is kind of the only way I can show you from my perspective just how absolutely absurd it is that people from all types of families feel like they have to bloody justify the people who live inside their 4 walls with them. Like, with all the diversity we have in the world and all of the beliefs and preferences and political leanings and gender expressions and free fucking will, how is it even conceivable to think that there is and can only be one type of normal family structure? Also, disclaimer. Let me throw this in here. Disclaimer. I don't really think the traditional nuclear family system is shit. But I do think it's only one type of family system. It's not the gold standard. It's not the best kind. It's not the only kind. It's one type of family system. The part I struggle with is that there seems to be, at least from what I've noticed, but there seems to be this pervasive mentality that the nuclear family is the most socially acceptable type of family. And the rest of the types of families are just sort of shameful in their own rights, right? Like, let's do a little thought experiment. Let's play a little game. Let me ask you this. Why is it more okay socially? Why is it generally more socially acceptable for a wealthy white couple to bioengineer the DNA in their embryos than it is acceptable for a same-sex, biracial couple to adopt a child or to give birth via a surrogate. And even on that note, why is it more okay for a wealthy white heterosexual couple to give birth via a surrogate than it is for a gay couple to give birth via a surrogate? Why is it more okay socially? Why is it generally more acceptable for a woman and a man to stay married to each other, even if there's abuse, even if there's incompatibility, even if they have slept in separate rooms for a decade? Why is that type of relationship more socially acceptable and celebrated and socially needs to be protected? Why does that relationship need to be protected more than a relationship between a trans woman and her partner when they love each other very much? Why is one type of family system more entitled to be in a relationship? Why do some stepmoms walk around saying that being a stepmom is the hardest fucking thing on the planet? You know, those memes, they make me wild, but those memes that circulate and say like, when I grow up, I want to be a stepmom, said no little girl ever. Like, how closed-minded and rigid and antiquated are those beliefs? Like, why can't little girls grow up to want to be stepmoms? No, like really, like actually ask yourself this question. Actually, I would really invite you. Let me soften that. I would really invite you to ask yourself, why can't little girls grow up and say that they want to be stepmoms? Like, how is that any different than little girls being indoctrinated to push around toy baby carriages with frilly pink dollies inside of them? Like, why can't we just change the conversation to actually be representative of different types of family systems? Do you think that there might actually be a possibility that being a stepmom is so hard because we have been brainwashed and conditioned our whole lives to think and believe that there's a very specific type of family that we should strive to create? Why can't we teach our daughters that their worth in life isn't determined based on the relationships they have with other people, based on who they are to somebody else? And why can't we teach our sons that their worth in life isn't determined based on their relationships to other people? That sometimes relationships work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes people have kids, sometimes they don't. Sometimes men marry men, and sometimes women marry women. And sometimes people never get married. And that whichever type of family they decide to create in the future, we support it. Why can't we teach our kids that we support whatever type of family structure they want to enter in the future? So here's the scoop, all right? Here's the message that I'm trying to get across with this episode. There's nothing wrong with your stepfamily. So if you are obsessed or preoccupied with trying to, air quote, blend it, if you're trying to blend it, if you're ready to pull your hair out because somewhere along the way you learned there's only one good type of family system and all the other types of family systems are other, and since they're other, that means they're bad, then I've got news for you, sister. You have been lied to. And you also might be making your life way harder than it has to be. Like, the way I see it is that if somewhere on some cellular level, people didn't believe that stepfamilies were less than traditional nuclear families, then there wouldn't be all of this ridiculous social pressure to blend, right? To blend. You can't blend a freaking stepfamily. It can't do it. Why are we pressuring ourselves to blend a stepfamily? Why are we pressuring ourselves to be besties with the ex, to love the kids like they grew inside of our own bodies? If people didn't believe that stepfamilies were other, they were an other bad type of stepfamily or type of family, while the traditional nuclear family is the good, normal type of family, then do you think that maybe all of this drama could be avoided? Like, if we just accepted stepfamilies as being a normal family system that happens in our world today, then maybe we would not feel so pressured to try to erase our partner's first life or pieces of it that bothered us. Yes? So let me be clear. This is science. This is science, by the way. Your stepfamily will never, ever, 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 ever be a traditional nuclear family. Full stop. End of discussion. You can't blend it. You can't throw it into a milkshake machine and blend it and make it be a nuclear family. You can't do it. It's science. It just can't happen. Your stepfamily will always be a stepfamily for as long as you are in a relationship with someone who has biological children with somebody else. You are in a stepfamily. So just let it be a bloody stepfamily. And like, to be clear, I'm not shitting on nuclear families. I'm not shitting on stepfamilies. I'm not shitting on what you believe. I'm just challenging it. Right? But to me, a traditional nuclear family isn't something that I aspire to have anymore. A traditional family was something that I was brainwashed into believing I needed to have. So much so that my high school career counselor convinced me not to go to medical school and not to become a doctor because nursing school made more sense for me so that I could get married and have kids. So traditional nuclear families, as we understand them, they're literally social constructs. They're literally something that human beings created and said, okay, this is what's normal now. Okay? Then the underpinnings of those social constructs are backed by oppressive and exploitative and racist and sexist and ableist power structures that were set up back in the day and intended for a select group of people to maintain power and maintain control over others. Period. That is the history. That is the history of the traditional nuclear family. Because religion and politics are big business, huge business. And for some very convenient reasons for those types of institutions, both religion and politics play into what we as a society generally deem as normal. And so while some people might be getting twisted up about the 4-carrot sticks that their tween stepdaughter refused to eat, like instead of asking themselves why they're getting twisted up about the 4-carrot sticks that their tween stepdaughter refused to eat, these power structures will remain intact. So no matter what your political or your religious beliefs are, I would invite you to ask yourself, who is a group of people that you've been taught or indoctrinated to believe are bad people? Maybe if not bad people, people that have a belief system that's wrong. Liberals, conservatives, Democrats, Republicans, like, do you believe that one type of religious belief system is superior to another? Do you have strong opinions on things like abortion? Do you believe that people who believe the opposite of you are wrong or immoral or bad? It's okay if you do. Just be honest. If you do, let me ask you, why? Like, really ask yourself, why is the other side wrong? Who decides the other side is wrong? Who decides that your way is the right way? Now, let me ask you this. Do you see any similarities at all between the way that we're taught that the other political side is bad and wrong and immoral, the way we're taught that pro-choicers or pro-lifers are bad or wrong or immoral, do you see any parallels between that us versus them mentality and the way that so many stepmoms feel about certain people in their stepfamilies? Do you see, could you identify any parallels between that us versus them mentality and the way that we feel inclined to defend or apologize for the fact that our type of family doesn't look like a traditional family? That we've already pigeonholed ourselves to believe that we are the them in the us versus them scenario. That there's something inherently wrong with us unless we do everything in our power to turn our grotesque, freaky, alternative family into something polished and pretty that fits into society's box of normal. That we so badly want to be the us in the us versus them that we agonize over the connection or lack of connection we have with the people in our stepfamilies who are complete strangers a few years ago. Yeah, we agonize over the fact that we can't blend, that we have to approach these relationships differently because there are different rules that apply to stepfamilies. Like, what if we just allowed our stepfamily relationships to develop organically? What if we just accepted them as they were? Like, the paradox is, the harder that some of us, a lot of us, try to force connection, the more pressure we put on that fucking blend, the more disconnected we probably end up feeling. We're pushing for connection, we're getting disconnection. Like, what a paradox. What is happening? So, like, let's face it. The traditional nuclear family system is not perfect. If it was, people wouldn't get divorced in the first place. There would be no stepfamilies. If the traditional nuclear family system was the only type of family system that there was supposed to be, there wouldn't be stepfamilies. Stepfamilies are also not perfect, right? Like, I'm not living with looking through rose-colored glasses thinking that stepfamilies are perfect. I all know that. Trust me. I know that they're not, right? Stepfamilies fail more often than they don't. But your family was never meant to look like a 1950s advertisement for a frickin' Frigidaire. If it was, it would look like that already. And chances are pretty good that if you're still listening to this episode, your life looks nothing like a 1950s advertisement for a Frigidaire. Does that make us less than? Does that create us versus them? That was a trick question. Because the truth is, there's only one us. Each and every one of us is trying to figure out this wild ride that we call life. And at the end of the day, we really are not all that different. Humans need some very simple things in life. They want safety, they want security, connection, self-expression. Humans need to feel like they're making some kind of contribution to the world. And every single person has a different school of thought on how they can make those things happen. If you find those things in a traditional nuclear family, great. If you find them in a stepfamily, great. If you find them in a same-sex relationship and adopt a baby, great. If you choose to stay single your whole life and never have kids, great. But I really, really wish that we could just stop pretending that we're something we're not. I wish that when I asked stepmoms, what do you want in your stepfamily? If I could flick a magic wand and grant you a wish, what do you want for your stepfamily? And they're like, I just want to blend. I swear to God, the fucking blend triggers me. Not gonna lie. Blend and bonus mom, they trigger me. That's my stuff. That's not on you. That's my own stuff. I'm using you to bounce ideas off of, and I apologize for that. But blend and bonus mom, man, they just trigger me. They just trigger the shit out of me. Trigger the shit out of me. If you use those words, that's okay. I forgive you. It's my own stuff. I'll work through it. I'll be better. I'll be better. I promise I'll be better. The reasons I don't like them are not because of you. If you use them, the reasons I don't like them is always tied to social issues. Has nothing to do with you. Anyway, I digress. I apologize. We went on a squirrel. Let's come back. Let's come back to reality, Brittany. So, if we could just stop trying to make ourselves be something that we're not, if we could just stop with the pressure to make ourselves look like a nuclear family, if we could just fucking stop, if we could just let people live their damn lives, if we could just appreciate people who voted for Trump because that fits with their belief system, and if we could just appreciate people who voted for Biden because that fits with their belief system and their value system. We don't need to demonize everybody. We don't need to weaponize what's the point of having morals and ethics if you're using them as weapons? What's the point of striving to have this type of family system that is being weaponized? Why are we doing this? Right? And I don't have the answer. I really don't have the answer. I was just more in a philosophical mood today of asking some questions. Why are we trying to make ourselves be something that we're not? Why are we trying to make our stepfamilies be something that it is not? A stepfamily is not a blended family. Stepfamilies don't blend. We will never be nuclear families. And that's okay. That is okay. Nuclear families are not better than stepfamilies. Stepfamilies are not better than nuclear families. They're two distinct family systems. They each have their pros, they each have their cons, but each person in any of those family systems deserves to feel safety, security, comfort, purpose, fulfillment. And so what I would like to leave you with this week is a bit of homework. Some questions for you to ask yourself as the time goes on. And I would like you to pay attention to how many times throughout the day that you find yourself being triggered by your stepfamily, getting upset about something in your stepfamily. And when that happens, I want you to ask yourself, I would invite you to ask yourself and pay attention. Are those triggers stemming from a belief or an illusion or a once upon a time dream that you had of having a normal nuclear family, right? Traditional nuclear family. And ask yourself, how many of the problems, how many of these triggers, is this trigger related to the fact that I am in a stepfamily, hoping, wishing, praying it would just act like a nuclear family? There's no right or wrong. There's no way to do this exercise wrong. This is simply to give you a kind of awareness, right? So have fun with that. I'm interested to hear what you come up with. Send me a message on Instagram at the Step Queen. We can have a conversation about it. I would love to hear it. And I'm really excited for next week's episode. I have a special, very special guest arriving to do an interview. So you do not want to miss next week's episode with Amanda. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. So buckle up. Until then, work on this little piece of homework. Send me a message on Instagram. Let's be friends. All right, queens. I will see you next week with Amanda. Same place, same time. I hope this episode got your wheels turning and showed you just how powerful you are. I would invite you to take 30 seconds and tap subscribe to this podcast. When you subscribe to the podcast, then rest assured you will never miss an episode. And in no time, spinning your wheels will be a thing of the past. Thank you for listening and subscribing. And if you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if after you subscribed, you jumped on over and left me a 5-star review, and better yet, a written review. I am on a mission to let every mom and stepmom know that you can create the life of your dreams. And I need your help to change the world. The world needs us. Thank you so much for subscribing and leaving me a 5-star review. I will see you next week, same time, same place. For more behind the scenes action and to get really up close and personal with me and our beautiful step family, jump on over to Instagram and follow me at The Step Queen. Don't be shy, send me a DM, tag me in your posts, tag me in your stories, let me know what you're up to and what about the podcast has been blowing your mind. I cannot wait to get to know you better, and Instagram is my jam. I love you so much. I love you so much. Make it rain, girlfriend.